Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, thank you for being here. Certainly appears that Leader McConnell got the message, whether it was you in particular or a combination of a lot of folks saying the same thing. What is next in the search for his replacement? What kind of leader are you looking for?
Well, listen, let me say at the outset that now is a time to recognize Mitch's long and honorable service, that he's the longest leader in Senate history. And he made the judgment that now is the time to move on, and I certainly respect that judgment. I will say in terms of legacy, I think he has many legacies, but the most consequential, I believe, has been the nomination and confirmation of hundreds of principled constitutionalists to the federal judiciary. And at lunch today, I told Mitch, I said, look, that legacy will outlast all of us. And so that's a lot to celebrate.
Absolutely. By the way, I just want to jump in for a second because I was talking to Senator Schmidt about that. I don't know if you heard, but for all of the problems we have with our legal system right now, the lawfare that's going on, the two-tier justice system, et cetera, imagine how worse it would have been had Mitch McConnell not been leader of the Senate.
No, that is exactly right. And elections have consequences, and the American people, number one, for a significant amount of time, elected a Republican majority in the Senate that produced very clear results in terms of the U.S. Supreme Court and all the federal courts. And then the American people elected Donald Trump as president in 2016, and that changed the course of history. And if you look at the Supreme Court now, we have principled constitutionalists there that are defending the Bill of Rights and our fundamental liberties and the rule of law, and that is incredibly important, especially right now when we have what I believe is a lawless administration. To have a court that holds them to account is really important.
But you know, you have a leader of the Senate right now who actually has come out and said things about the Supreme Court that never used to be said. I mean, has actually threatened members of the Supreme Court. And when you're dealing with a majority leader like that, so I'm of course talking about Senator Schumer, you can't play softball, and some people say that was part of the problem with Mitch McConnell over the past couple of years. He's playing too much softball with a person who has, brought a gun to a knife fight.
Right. Look, I have had long disagreements with Mitch McConnell for the 12 years I've been in the Senate. You played a snippet of that just at the outset of that segment, and so my views have not been subtle or difficult to ascertain. I think today, with his announcement, is a time to respect his service. There is no doubt the Senate conference will very quickly move on to a discussion of who should be the next leader, and I expect that to be a really vigorous discussion. I suspect many of my colleagues may put their names forward, and what I'd like to see is the next leader be someone who is strong, who has courage, who will actually stand up and fight and lead, and I'd like to see the Republican conference for us to do what we said we would do, to actually fight for the promises we said we'd fight for and deliver on our promises. And I think whoever the next leader is, I think that's really front and center, most critical.
All right. I want to switch to your home state of Texas because we have a big day tomorrow with a former president and a current president both visiting, very different views on how to deal with the border. One president, of course, had success in diminishing the number of migrants coming across that border. That's Donald Trump. The other one has essentially opened it up. It's 4 times worse than it was in President Trump's last year right now. I'm just wondering, do you think, and of course the Texas border has been relatively secured by the people of Texas, not by the federal government, but by the governor spending their own money in Texas, closing it up. A lot of the migrant traffic has moved to Nevada and to California as a result. But President Biden's going to go there tomorrow. Do you think he's going to take some kind of victory lap, claiming that the diminishing number of migrants is a result of something he's done?
Well, listen, I will be down at the southern border with President Trump tomorrow, and I'm glad President Trump is coming back. Joe Biden, I was down at the border just this weekend, and I invited Joe Biden, come to the border And he did. The next day he announced he was coming. But it's interesting. What I said when I said come to the border is I said come to the border and see the misery and suffering that your open border policies have caused. Look at the dead bodies, the 853 migrants who died last year crossing illegally into this country. Look in the eyes of the little children brutalized by human traffickers. Look in the eyes of women violently raped by human traffickers. Look at the families who have lost over 100,000 loved ones to drug overdoses, and take responsibility. You know what, David? I'm confident Joe Biden will do none of that.
Yeah,
he went to the border one other time during his presidency. He went to El Paso.
Well, that's right,
and in El Paso, what they did is they cleaned it all up. So afterwards, the White House said he did not see a single illegal immigrant. It was reminiscent of when China's President Xi went to San Francisco and they removed the homeless people and criminals.
Well,
and
it was also reminiscent. It was reminiscent of the Potemkin villages that that Joseph Stalin used to set up. I just want to be. I do think that it's not just at the border, though. I think all over the country now, because this thing has spread. The effects of this thing, not only in terms of the cost, but in terms of the crime. And we had that horrible case of the murder of the woman down at in Georgia, and the Athens, Georgia mayor was speaking in a press conference today. It turned into a town hall. I want to play a snippet of that and get your reaction. Roll it.
Liar.
Many of the elements.
Liar. Liar. Liar.
We are here to listen.
Liar. You are guilty and got blood on your hands for this murder, sir.
Now, that is, I don't think it always goes to those extremes, but it shows the frustration of Americans with this situation of the border and all of the crises that result from an open border. I think there's a reason why it has become the #1 issue in American politics, right?
Well, listen, Joe Biden and the Democrats in Congress are deliberately endangering the lives of every American. If you look at Laken Riley, a beautiful 22-year-old woman, a nursing student in Georgia, she was murdered because of the Democrats' open border policies. And let's put facts to that statement. The Venezuelan murderer who crossed into this country, we apprehended him. We had him in El Paso. You know, he was one of the illegal immigrants Joe Biden didn't see in El Paso because his team didn't let him see any illegal immigrants in El Paso. But we had him, and the Biden administration released him. Joe Biden paroled him, let him go. I'll tell you what should have happened. When we apprehended him, we should have put him on a plane, and we should have flown him back to Venezuela. And if Biden had done that, Laken Riley would be alive today. After Joe Biden released this murderer, he went to New York City. In New York City, he was arrested again, this time for endangering a child. And what happened in New York? Well, New York City is a sanctuary city. They released him again. They refused to notify ICE. He was let go a second time. If they'd kept him in jail in New York City, Laken Riley would still be alive. But the Democrats' policies are taking the lives of Americans. And we just had news break today in Prince George's County, just outside of D.C., of a 2-year-old child murdered by yet another illegal alien released by Joe Biden. These open border consequences have real consequences and real victims.
Senator, I wish we had more time, but we've run out. Thank you very much for being here, and have a safe trip to Texas tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Coming up.